Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Genius Recap Podcast, Genius Game. Sorry. I'm here, Zach Wurtenberger. I'm, of course, here with my brother, Cory, and we've got an amazing guest right now to cover episode 4 of The Genius. She is a reality TV multi-hyphenate, a genius super fan, and the president of the Delusional Amalfi Club. It is Claire Rehfuss. Claire, how are you doing?
Woo! It's a game, Zach. It's a game. I am doing fantastic. I'm so thrilled to be here with the best brothers in the biz. And I'm so
Whoa.
excited to talk about Genius Game. I love the Genius Game. Well, not necessarily grew up watching it, but I think it was one of the things that got me back into reality TV when I was in college. So I was an original fan way back when, as seasons were still coming out. So thrilled to be talking about this version with you guys.
So is that's true? You were watching as it was like live coming out. Like, when did you originally start watching The Genius? Like, where in its airtime?
I think I started, and this is really memory, and I don't know what years they all came out. I started watching when I was in college. I think I started watching after season 2 was out. But it would be like I would watch a season, watch the next season, then totally forget about the show, and then like 2 years later, I'd be like, then what happened to that? And look it up. And it was like, oh, season 3 is out. Oh, fantastic. Like, let me get after this. So it was not something I think like it's a Korean variety show. So I was very reliant on like Reddit, Bumdiddlyumptious, of course,
Yep.
an icon, and just along for the ride and just something that I always loved. And I was always like, if they could somehow make a American version of this or like an English speaking version of this, what a dream to go on that. But I never felt like it would fully work on like American TV.
Hmm.
And I think there's been like some pushback
Yeah.
of is this too complicated? But I think it's still a lot of fun.
Yeah. Neither
I
did the
mean,
British public at this
yeah,
point.
or one particular person in our comment sections repeatedly. Now, I want to do the barometer, Claire. You're a huge fan of the Genius in all of its forms. So far, has the Genius Game, this UK edition, lived up to expectations, surpassed, fallen short? Like, where's the barometer at this point?
I think the first season of any show is going to be hard. So I think I have like a lot of grace for this first season. I think there are some faults and I think there are some good things. I think like I don't want to like, drag them. I love the show. I think like casting maybe could have been a little bit more
Sure.
fun. I think like explaining the episode, like explaining the win conditions could be done a little bit better. I think some of these main matches and death matches could be a little bit better. But I think like that has to do with growing pains in a first season,
Hmm.
right? Of like you're figuring out what works, what doesn't work. I
Yeah.
think episode 3 really renewed a lot of faith for me. This episode a little bit more back to the
Yeah.
usual. But they said we're halfway through, so I'm very interested to see what this back half looks like.
Well, real quick, before we get into the full episode, obviously, if you are struggling to find out where to watch this show, as so many people are, Rob is a podcast patron group has all of the links. You can find everything there. Additionally, they're everywhere. You just got to search. You can find these episodes. Please watch it. I saw Taryn is doing some recaps of it. You can watch parties with him. That's great. But yeah, it's out there. We're watching it. We're making it happen. Yeah, I do agree with you, Claire, that I think that there is a lot to love about this show, and I'm so excited to be watching it. And then there's a lot to kind of that could be better, that we can criticize for it. What's funny for me is like because the original Genius only lasted 4 seasons, like we didn't really they didn't have enough time to like really fail in the way that some reality shows
Hmm.
do. Like you think about Survivor, right? The first real bad season of Survivor is season 5. And the
Hmm.
Genius didn't even get there. So if the Korean Genius had made season, I'm sure we would have more main matches that we're looking at and we're like, oh, that one didn't work. This cast didn't work. Right now, I'm still at
Hmm.
the halfway point. Um, Not 100% sure where I stand with this cast. There are people I really like, and then there's some that I just think are coasting and aren't giving me necessarily what I want, but they still have the time at this point to make up for it and to give us like some real genius moments.
I
You know,
agree.
sorry. I think that is interesting of thinking about like the Genius Game as like a 4-season arc, right? Like you're
Mhm.
following these characters that play season. And like when I'm looking back, I don't remember a lot of the people who are on like the second season, the first season, but I know Jinho, I know
Yeah.
Dongmin. I follow these people that have like multi-season arcs and like entering it in the first season, and I already knew there was a second season. People are like, oh, well, the ending's so good, or oh, just wait till the second season. You know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And so it's hard coming into a new show just totally blind.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree. Well, I just want to say big picture though. I'm very, I don't want to say proud, but happy with production in terms of like, it feels like when they don't necessarily know what to do, they lean in the direction of let's do what the Korean version did. Right. And
Mhm.
they're like very dedicated to remaining faithful to that, which I think is what every fan of the Korean version of the Genius wanted. Um, it's just kind of like a couple decisions and in general, like there's money up for grabs. The cast is incentivized to play safe a lot of the time, especially when perhaps like who's going to be in the death match is pretty clear. Where like if you just play safe, you will be fine. But let's kind of dive into it.
Mhm.
A quick pet peeve. I don't want to be all negative. I love the show. It reminds me a little bit of whether it's The Bachelor or The Challenge when they do these intro packages. We're finally getting to see a little bit more about India, and this happens at the start of every episode. And then that person tends to either win the match or get eliminated or be in the elimination
Yeah.
or in the death match. So the editing, whereas the Genius, South Korean version keeps you on your toes, this one sometimes gives you some hints at the start.
Mhm. And India's been a big part of the show. It's not like she's been one of these people who's been invisible. But you're right. The moment that I saw the India package, I was like, oh, okay, well, there's our winner or there's our loser. And yeah, that was actually 100% right yet again, this one.
Yeah, well,
Claire, I have a quick question just before we get into the episode
Hmm.
itself. I do want to just get your pulse check on one player in specific, and
Yeah.
that is after episode 3. I want to know, what are your thoughts on Benjamin? He obviously in episode 3 had a very dominant performance. Some people are saying it was incredible. Some people are saying that it was, almost like a dictatorship of that episode. So what is your thoughts? How did you walk away from that episode feeling about
Oh,
Benjamin?
man. What episode 3? Oh my gosh. I think this is my thoughts on Benjamin and Benjamin's game.
Okay.
And it's a thesis I have across all reality shows. Big
I
Brother,
love that.
Survivor, Genius Game. It is when you are going on these shows, the optimal gameplay is probably going to be major alliances, steamrolling, not necessarily bullying, but strong arming, right? We're seeing this
Mhm.
on Survivor this season. We've seen it
Yeah.
on Big Brother over and over again. We're seeing it on the Genius Game. It is an optimal strategy that can have you win the game. I think that is fantastic. When you go on these shows, you want to win the game. That said, you also have to appreciate that it is not going to be a beloved strategy, and you have to be willing to accept that. If you want to win these games, I tell everyone this, if you want to win, you have to be fine leaving the show and being hated. Because if you want
Yeah.
to play an optimal strategy and a not fun strategy and not necessarily good TV, you are going to be hated. And I think I walked away from episode 3 being like, sorry, like screw Benjamin. But now, episode 4, I was kind of like, and maybe he is a good villain. And
Yeah.
maybe it is kind of fun to root against him. And maybe I do want to see him get his comeuppance. But is it fun to watch? No, not really. Like, I kind of can't believe he got away with it. And good for him. I hope that it wins him. But I think like episode 3, I walked away being like, well, I don't feel great about that. I don't think any of those players felt great about that. And I kind of feel like this episode, people walked away being like, I don't feel great about what's happening here.
Well, here's
So,
the
more power to him. But I feel like when you play the strong arm game and you play with the majority and you play with the dictatorship, if you don't win, you will leave with regrets. And you will say, why didn't I play a more fun game? Why wasn't I flipping? Why wasn't I conniving and scheming and playing the game, quote unquote, like how the producers probably want it to be played? And so I hope that Benjamin doesn't leave like with regrets of like, oh, well, what if I had like tried to like make moves and play as the underdog?
Right. Play the actual game versus,
Yeah. Like
just
I think we'll
strong-arming.
see how it plays out, but what can you do?
So let me say what I appreciate about Ben, though, because look, this could very easily feel like a Derek Levasseur Boston Rob situation. But because Ben is cracked out, the vibe of his steamroll is still insane. And I still really enjoy it. And at the start of this episode, you know, we have these early confessionals. What's your plan going into today? He says, I'm going to try to lay low. And I almost like laughed at the screen. I'm like, okay, man, good luck.
Yeah, right.
And I understand he plays a very big role in this game. This is the lowest he's laid. Like, he did a pretty good job. He was not really in the deathmatch talks. Was not really in winning the main match talks. He's through to the next episode. So, like, unconventional path as always for Ben, but mission accomplished, right?
Yeah. All right. So getting into this game, Cory, can you lay out? The game is called Lights Off. It's a brand new Genius game. Tell us, how does this one work?
Yeah. Honestly, not really broken either. I feel like a lot of these games do get broken. So the game's called Lights Off. Players start with a briefcase of sorts with 6 light blocks. All these blocks look the same until the lights turn off and your little squares turn on. And the goal is to, by the end of the game, get your briefcase full of 6 cubes of the exact same color. Now, there's a catch, obviously. You only see the color of your cubes for the first 5 seconds of the entire game. Then they turn back to white, and it all relies on your memory and the information and how much the other players are being honest with you when they're swapping your cubes. So at the end of each round, I believe there's 3 or 4 rounds, Zach. Is it 4?
I believe so, yeah.
At the end of each round, it is revealed which color holds a majority in a case. So basically, which case has the most of a given color. So if one case has 5 reds, all they'll show is 5 reds. Which I thought was an interesting choice, but it played out in a somewhat interesting way. You can't trade blocks with the same player more than once. That would be broken. And then this is a rule.
Oh, wait, sorry. It's, you can't trade blocks with the same player more than once per round.
Yes.
Not total.
Yes, of course. Yeah. And then this is, I think, one of the wrinkles of the game that I couldn't quite figure out. When you think you have all 6 of the same color, you can lock in your case, and it's opened. If you're correct, you win the main match. Did they ever say what happened if you were wrong?
No, they never specified that. And I was actually also super annoyed about that.
They clearly planned for that, like what would happen. My guess is you're just locked out of the game.
I would assume that once you've locked it in, you're done. You've revealed your pieces, and now it doesn't seem like you lose because you don't have the black, but you don't win. Yes,
Professor,
Cory.
I have a question.
Professor.
Can I just break the game immediately? Hey, everyone, let's all just reveal our cases. Let's lock them in immediately, and whoever has the black one is gone.
I don't see necessarily. Well, okay. There's a very easy issue with that plan. Is whoever has the black square after that hates your guts, and you're now a very easy person for them to just choose in retribution.
Who's willing to take the fall? Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I think that's one thing that, like, when there wasn't much suspense about does India actually have 6 red cubes, because we have no idea what would happen if she didn't.
Well, I think the way you fix that is just like, if you don't actually have it, you're going to deathmatch. And then because what are the odds? Like, most likely if what you have is wrong, you probably have the black anyways, which is also kind of what if you're the one that locks in and has black, which is, I feel like, what they designed the game to have happen.
It's a big hole in this game that we're missing, because you're right. Like, if you locking in automatically made you the deathmatch candidate, completely changes the strategy, because that gives Bedalia like a million different outs with where the game ends up going. So I don't think that was the case. I don't think that if you locked it in, you were automatically deathmatch candidate. Maybe it's like if you locked in and you had 5, like if no one else was able to get 6, you would be the winner by default. Everyone has to lock in at the end anyways. I still think they should have told us.
Yeah, the point is, like, I think the show and producers, editors need to do a bit of a better job of, like, show us all the rules of the game and then it'll become clear to us what matters. Don't dictate how you tell the rules based on what happens, because it just makes it a little bit more predictable for us. And I think another key example of that is when they're describing the padlocks as a twist that hardly was in this episode. Everyone has a padlock, and you could choose to essentially sabotage someone and force their briefcase to be closed. So I guess they can't seal in their case or trade for that round. And it only popped up one time. And again, you kind of break the game with the downside of you could be picked for the death match of, oh, we know Bedalia has the black cube. Are we just all going to lock his case over and over and over again and ensure our safety?
Sure.
Yeah. And it's kind of, it didn't happen because Bedalia said, I'm gonna lock my own case. But I think that was a definite possibility. I wanted to ask a big picture question, Claire. Okay, you're playing the game. You're playing the lights off game. You open your case. Are you hoping to see the black cube?
No, because of the other thing that I think is broken about this game. You are not incentivized to trade. You're not. If I don't have the black, I don't think Charlotte traded once. Like, I think there were multiple players in here that were trading and multiple that were not trading at all. If I am fine sitting back and like no one needs my cubes, I'm just like, I'm not trading at all. Boring. Not fun. They're not incentivized to trade. How I think a fix of this could be is if people were paid out cubes for having a match of 3, a match of 4, a match of 5, and then if you have all 6, then you get the safety plus 3 garnets. But I think like if you have a match of 3, we'll give you 1 garnet. I think there are ways that you can fix this to incentivize the trading, but like realistically in that game, only 3 people were really trying to finish the game, and then even then it was just kind of an acceptance of like, let's just have Indy win it. Like no one tried to lock indies, no one tried to lock anyone else that was going for it because it didn't matter. Like,
can I say the counterpoint I think to that is after the last game, I think that these people are so desperate to actually play the genius this time that I think you were okay with like people were going to be wanting to trade, wanting to get the cubes.
I guess. And like, yes. Oh, that's fair. Like we had 2 people who were fighting for the whites. And we had like Indy who was going for it, Allison who was going for it, Amonfi who really just wanted to get rid of his black, Ken who then just wanted to get rid of the black. But like Benjamin, I don't think ever made a trade. Or if he did, it was like the red blue to Indy. It wasn't like out of self-interest at all. Actually, I think like Charlotte didn't make the trade. So I guess so there were people who were going for things, and then once it kind of looked like someone might just win, they kind of stepped back.
There probably should be a thing where it's like you must trade at least 1 per round, because doing that right there completely throws that strategy away that you threw up. That is a very valid strategy. Like I don't have the black. If I think I'm in a good social position, why even play this game? And that's like a huge flaw in the genius that we've seen a couple times now.
Even that doesn't really fix it, because like there's very safe trades you can make that really doesn't incentivize anybody to, lie in those kinds of situations. But I think there's a common theme that pops up in these, especially on the Genius UK. I feel like in the South Korean version, there's more people going for the win each game, it felt like. Where really what you're trying to do is not lose, or more specifically, not be in the death match. And the second that, it reminds me a lot of episode 1 of this season, where not only did we immediately know that Paul lost, we also immediately knew the winner. In this game, we immediately knew, once Bedalia tells everyone he has the black cube, that case is closed. And then he says who he's going to pick for the death match, and the pressure is off of everybody. There's no way for Amonfi. He did the right thing. He tried to go for that win. That win wasn't really there. So that's when, Claire, your strategy is genius of like, oh, I don't care about winning.
Let's shut down now once it's all that stuff is established. So I would say though, Cory, I would rather have the black cube in my case initially because of tracking purposes. I'm intending to play this game like the way it's meant to be played. So you start with the black cube, and I actually, we could just start with kind of where Ken starts this game, right? Ken is the one who has the black cube. He instantly forms an alliance with Amonfi and Charlotte in this game. They all agree, hey, none of us have the black cube, right? Ken's like, oh yeah, no, certainly. And then instantly trades it off to Amonfi. And then the moment that Amonfi now has the black cube, Ken pulls him to the side, gives him the real like lowdown of like, hey, dude, sorry. I hate to tell this to you, but I did just lie to your face. But no one else knows, and now we can plan to get it off of you. I think that's the correct way to play it with the black cube, and then you can track it from Amalfi all the way to wherever it ends up.
Yeah, the key is being the second to last person to have the black cube, or rather the third to last. You want to be one earlier in that rotation, because whoever ends up with the black cube is almost certainly going to pick the person who gave it to them, and that person is almost impossible for them to win because they had the black cube, which means you probably were not, one cube away from finishing the game. So like Ken, I think, played it perfectly. You don't, Charlotte this from the zombie game and immediately tell everybody. You get rid of the cube, and then that person is your number one teammate, just in case they don't get rid of the black cube, they don't pick you.
Right. Yeah. No, I think if someone like Benjamin had gotten the black cube originally, I think what he does is he does the exact same thing and then trades it to like Amalfi, let's say. And the moment Amalfi has the cube, he takes the other like 6 people into a room, says, I just gave Amalfi the black cube. He has the black cube. Do not trade with Amalfi. We need to make me win. Because I just screwed Amalfi over. He's going to choose me. We need to make me win. Like, that is 100% how Benjamin plays something like this. And
I don't think it works.
You don't think it works here?
He doesn't have leverage in this spot. Earlier, when he's I forget the exact term they use, like the secret
undercover agent.
The undercover agent, he holds everyone's lives in their hand because he's the one who like divvies up the points, essentially. In this game, after he gets rid of the black cube, he's just one of the common folk. And it feels, and it kind of goes back and forth all episode, it feels like there's like a bit of a bitter sentiment towards Ben building. And I don't think people are going to get in line if they don't have to, which they wouldn't have to in this case.
Yeah, I think it would come down to, could he use that as leverage and tell his in-group, hey, I have the black? Because clearly everyone was talking and like the large majority was like, we know that it's not over here. Which actually, I'm very curious as we keep talking through this, like who they thought had the black and they were trying to track it. I think you could use it as leverage of like, I will not give you this, or like I am being so honest and open and not letting this go into our group. So I expect maybe if I'm not safe that you will give me the safety token. But
yeah.
Let's move on to how the game kind of progresses. So Ken starts with the black cube and immediately offloads it to Amalfi. If you're Amalfi, kind of a tough spot. Like that first trade, you just don't want to get unlucky. Maybe if someone's a little bit eager to trade, that should be a red flag. I will say Amalfi convinced me he had the black cube, even though I knew Ken had it, because he's like, hey, if either of us trade each other the black cube, we'll work together. And I'm like, Amalfi, this is very valuable for Ken right now as he's about to give you the black cube.
Right.
That stuck out to me.
Yeah. I wonder if he like suspected that Ken had it and he was just like, if I can get it, this will be good for me. Because I did like him. I like that as a game move. Like, hey, like if you do screw me over, just know like I want to work with you, because that's better than what you proposed before of Ken then running out and saying, I gave Amalfi the cube, let's screw him. Like you want someone on your side of, hey, if you're gonna screw me anyways, let's just work together on this.
Yeah, but I think there's an order of this that you have to get right, though. You tell the person it's okay that they betrayed you after they betrayed you, not giving them permission to betray you before the betrayal happens. Because I feel like if Ken had any doubts of offloading this cube, Amalfi being like, look, if either of us do it, we're going to be chill. That's a problem for me.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. You don't tell the HOH like, hey, if you put me up, I'll forgive you.
Wait, he pawned himself essentially. But Zach, if you're Amalfi, okay, you get the black cube. This is our reality we live in now. What's his play at that point? How does he get out of that situation? Because we see him offload it, but it doesn't really work out.
I think that we'll get into the target he chose is probably the person who was not necessarily going to be playing from a place of the most self-interest. He chose essentially the most loyal person left in the game, who the moment that he has the black cube decides that the game is just over for himself. I think that what Amalfi needed to do is what Ken did essentially, which is the moment that the black cube has been passed, instantly fess up to whoever you did it, and then pull the Ken move. Say, hey, I'm so sorry I did this. Only me and Ken know about it, and like Ken is locked solid with me. So all we need to do now is figure out who to give it to. And then what I would also do is, now that you're kind of locked in with Ken, really try to see if you can play for the Ken win that will
Mhm.
ultimately get you the token of life at the end. If that's your
Mhm.
number one ally in this game, if that's the person that you've decided to ride or die with, your focus has to be on getting the black cube away from you, so you can't really focus as hard on getting the win. But and Amonfi does do this later on. He tries it with Allison, who doesn't really buy it. You really should be like doing everything you can to be that token of life recipient, which he tried but didn't work for Amonfi.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that was interesting to me, as like I wrote down what everyone had.
Yeah.
So Ken starts the game with 2 whites, a
Hmm.
purple, green, blue, and the black. And if a single player wants to go with for the whites, they have to trade with Ken. Because there's only 7 white blocks, Ken holds 2 of them. The game automatically incentivizes is and almost guarantees someone will be selfish, someone will go for the whites, someone will have to trade with Ken at some point.
Yes.
Which is then how Amonfi ends up giving that white block, or quote unquote the black block that he calls a white block, over to Bedalia, who
Hmm.
is selfishly trying to go for the white blocks, trying to get the
Yes.
win and trying to get the maximum win. And so from the get-go, I feel like looking at this game, I was like, the white blocks and the black block is going to get intermixed, which is
Uh-huh.
interesting because you're almost like penalized for being selfish here. The
Yeah.
trick
Now,
is though, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, since you have them all written down,
Yeah.
was Ken the only one who started with 2 white blocks, or did someone else?
Bex. Bex
Bex
also
as
had 2
well.
white. Yeah.
Okay, because that would have been a really good way of balancing out, and it kind of is balancing out the one with the black box, is to
Yeah.
start them off with 2 white blocks, basically ensuring that the white victory is only possible if you trade with the person with the black box.
Yeah. And it is, because there are only 7 blocks out there.
Hmm.
In case anyone was wondering, everyone started with a purple, everyone started with a green, and then you have 2 of each of the other ones. 2
Okay.
reds, 2 yellows, 2 blues, and the 2 whites.
Mm.
Let me give a piece of advice slash a test of caution for the viewers out there. If you ever end up playing the Genius game in any international form, stop caring about raising the ultimate prize pool. The prize pool
Yeah.
will get to where it has to be. I promise. You're not going to be playing for $15,000 in the final, or 15,000 pounds or sterling. I don't care. It doesn't. That's not your problem. Personally, gaining garnets is really good. You can get advantages. You can get hints in certain games. I get that.
Hmm.
But there's always this talk, and it reminds me a lot of like, I feel like it happens in Survivor a lot when it comes to like grouping together to win a reward. Like, focus on yourself and the prize pot will get to where it needs to be. It just always pops up. And this winning with the white blocks was never going to happen. And the winner was the person who never planned on getting the white blocks together at all.
Hmm.
Maybe they'll prove me wrong. Maybe, the prize pot at the end will be 5K, but I
Yeah.
doubt that.
Hmm.
Okay, let's talk about Bedalia. Claire, just vent for a second. What's Bedalia doing? What's your feeling on him as a player?
First, let me just say, producers were playing in his face, like really just making him look so stupid. Like before
Yeah.
he trades with Amonfi, he's like, "Yeah, I know who has the black box," and Amonfi's like, "Oh, who?" And he's like, "Well, it's not you, and I'm not telling you, so
Uh-huh.
don't worry about it." I'm like, "Oh no, we know what's happening." And Amonfi's like,
Hmm.
"Okay, bet. Like, let's go then." And I'm curious of what your guys' thoughts are of like, should Amonfi have told him or not? But man, once he finds out that he has the black box and he says, "I'm seeing you in the death match," and then like storms off, a little unclear exactly when, but he goes to a big room of people and is like, "I have the black box." He like goes up, I think before he reveals, to like Ken and Bex, and is like, "Oh, like anyone want to trade? Anyone want to trade?" And they're like, no." And they're like, "Do you have the black box?" And Amonfi comes up and is like, "He does not have
Not
the black
that.
one
No.
at all. Like I gave it." And Bodalia looks at him and is like, "Okay, trade with me right now, then, right now." And
I
I'm like,
love that.
dude, like, just calm down. Like, let's take a
Hmm.
beat. Like, let's take a round. It's not about it in. Like, you 100% can pawn this off. You can say whatever. Like, other people are going for things. I don't. Did he have reds, or he at this point? I
Hmm.
think like he had a See, he had like a green, he had a yellow. He didn't really have anything that people were going for, but he had those 2 reds.
Yeah.
So it's like you have an exit
Also,
pathway.
he can lie.
Yeah.
You need a blue? Oh, I have 10 blues.
Wait,
What do you mean you
I
need a
actually
blue? Yeah.
that's what I traded for. Oh, you want the white? Okay, like I know I said I was going for it, but like, I don't know. I'll just give you one of mine. Like,
I think the issue is Bedalia's never going to play that game. He's not the guy who's going to be like the lying game, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, funny enough, he reminds me a little bit of yet again that other DJ that you played with, Cory, in Bowie Jane, in that like if he had the will to win, he really has the pieces that he needs to make that happen. Unfortunately, like he gets to this point where it would involve him winning this game would involve screwing over someone that he trusts, and he's just literally not willing to do that.
So here's the caveat with that. Imagine if Bowie makes the game-losing decision to take Jag to the final 2. Again, we don't have to go into the weeds of Big Brother 25, but then there's a twist that's revealed that the jurors vote for the most loyal player to win. Because that's essentially what happened. Bedalia implodes his whole game, ensures his spot in the deathmatch, chooses a strong competitor to go against, and then the deathmatch, which we will get into, is who is more trustworthy? Who would you prefer to play with? The good game player or the bad game player? And in this case, I don't want to say Bedalia lucked out because this is just, it's called the social game. But fortunately, the deathmatch was a social game. So Bedalia was, the second he revealed he had the black box, secured his spot in episode 5.
Yeah. One other thing that I found very interesting in this episode is this constant thread that we've been seeing of Bex, like kind of Bex the rat, who no matter what plan you involve Bex in, she's always going to want to just make sure that she checks in with the opposing alliance and just sees what their vibe is. And last game or zombie game, she did it. She didn't give any key info. This game, Bex went in and basically like gave them the entire game plan from start to finish.
Hey, Zach, everyone trusts her. Everyone trusts her. That's what she's been working. That's her brand. She's built that brand. Okay. That's her strength in the game. Everyone has their strength. Hers, everyone trusts her. Okay. So
I was so obsessed with when like I think it was Bedalia bust into the room and she's like sitting holding there. And he's like, "Are you showing that to them?" She's like, "What? No, that's why it's folded, because I'm not showing it to them. If I was showing it to them, it would be open. No, I'm not showing it to them. I wouldn't show it to them."
Well, and then like they come barging in, like, "What are you doing? You're showing our information." And Charlotte immediately is like, "If they don't feel safe, I'm leaving." And leaves. I'm like, "Wait, Charlotte, you've been working with this trio." I think she's just like so conflict averse. Like she's just like, "I have to go. They don't feel safe that I'm here," which is like, I think we're seeing remnants of episode 3 in the Wrath of Benjamin. But like, poor Bex.
No, I had a
game.
I had a comparison in the after episode 3 that I want to bring up to you now. It's Charlotte reminds me so much of Nicole Franzel in her gameplay. It's that like game player, like, you know, definitely gives it her all, like is playing hard, but it has this like, I don't know, like this rat-like quality where she's just always scurrying over, never wants to take the blame for anything, never wants to like be in the crossfires. But that like survival instinct that she has benefited her so well.
Well, yeah, and I'm excited to talk about the death match too, because like she does have trust. Like Amalfi was like, "This is my final 2," like from the beginning. She hasn't really gotten blown up that much yet. But it's like, yeah, these little things are going to get caught up. But I did love her Big Brother reference that she gave us. What is wrong with Benjamin? Very what is wrong with Angela? And I'm enjoying this kind of interpersonal rivalry that hasn't really played like a big impact yet on the game, but like who's gonna win this showdown?
It's definitely coming up. I feel like episode by episode, Benjamin's collecting enemies like Infinity Stones. Like he had the big fight with Bex this episode where he basically calls her out for essentially doing what she is doing, which is always scurrying around and like spreading
100%.
information. But from her perspective, it's like, yeah, it's the genius. Like, what? I'm not allowed to talk to other people. I don't know, Cory. Did you take a side on this in the Benjamin versus Bex fight?
I wrote down a question that I think I want to talk about big picture. Are Ben and Bex more likely to like lock in as a final two or be in the death match next week against each other? I don't know, because
Interesting.
it feels like when you have two people who constantly beef and constantly make up, they might just be a dysfunctional functional relationship. Like it feels like they really do get along. There's just a lot of that other stuff. So like right now, if you had to guess, Claire, there's only the two extremes available. Which one's more likely, final two or deathmatch next week?
Death match next week
Yeah.
for sure. I don't think Benjamin or Bex is really someone that can forgive and forget. And it's kind of like, yeah, they laugh, they joke around, they both know they need to do this for their game. But I think the first opportunity either of them has, I don't think Benjamin will not pick Bex. I think
Yeah.
Bex similarly would pick Benjamin unless she felt like particularly slighted. But I think as soon as Benjamin can pick anyone, my read is
Yeah.
that he doesn't trust Bex and would pick her.
I agree.
Mhm.
I want to. We love empowering our guests, Claire. It's choose your own adventure. Okay, so pick our path. Do you want to talk about India or Allison?
Wow.
Wow, two bangers
Very different
of a pick.
stories.
I think let's talk Allison. I think she had a very interesting week.
Yeah, so Allison's role, it feels to me like she's very disconnected from the rest of this cast in terms of the social relationships. Benjamin has tried to reach out to mixed success, but Allison gets in this spot where Amanfi wants to push Allison into the win in the hopes that Allison would give Amanfi the other token of life to save him from Bedalia. Allison doesn't even want to hear any of this. She's decided Bedalia equals good, Amanfi equals bad, and just rides in that direction. Am I oversimplifying it, Zach, or is that just what happened?
I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily like her deciding that off of false info.
Yeah.
Like it seems like Bedalia has been playing an incredibly straight up game throughout this whole thing. And I have not seen a single relationship between Amanfi and Allison from the start. Like they are not two players who have worked together. So when Amanfi comes in with this like Hail Mary to Allison of like, all right, I can get you the win, but you will save me. I think you just kind of got to read the player there. I don't think Allison particularly cares about winning the main match. I think that for a more self-interested player, someone like, I mean, Amanfi himself, I think Charlotte might have gone along with this plan. If Charlotte was able to be given a guaranteed, here's how you win this main match, I think she takes it. I think India would have taken it too. Allison's not the person. Allison is going to go with the person who she's been playing the game a lot more with, which is Bedalia. I mean, remember episode 1, Amanfi was the one who was throwing Allison under the bus to Paul in the cage for literally no reason.
Remember episode 2, he turned into a zombie. Like
into a zombie. There was no trust from Allison. So as much as I would love for Allison to be the kind of player who's like, oh, well, you know, bygones be got bygones. This is a good plan for me in the moment. I'm going to go with it. It's not her. And I think Amanfi needed to choose his target better.
Yeah, it also didn't matter. He knows Bedalia is going to pick Amanfi. So all of a sudden, Allison's choice is, do I take a big swing, try to get 3 garnets? Or do I just make it to the next episode? And I think that simplifies the decision quite a bit.
Yeah, I think he needed to lay it on to Ken heavier. I think he really needed to push the Ken win, if that was possible, and like get that guilt out of like, Ken, you're the one who put me in this position. Like, I need you to save me here, especially since Ken was on the outs last episode.
Or lock India's case too. Like you can play on the offensive because that was, I think, by far the most underutilized like part of this main match, where it does give the person in the minority a chance to do something. They just didn't get there. So that leads me to the next topic, which I think is going to be a quick one. India wins this main match. It feels like a total like side plot of India winning this main match. What happened? How did she win this, Claire? Because it seemed like everyone else just kind of agreed, like, yeah, she can have it, or am I missing something?
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I think once they realized the whites were compromised, what a phrase.
Yeah.
It was going to be, let's just wrap this up. We know who's going to win this. I think especially once Amanfi's case gets locked and he realizes, well, only one person went into that room.
Uh-huh.
So Allison's not trying to win. Ken wasn't trying to win. Okay, sure. Yeah, whatever. Like, I think everyone was fine with it. No one really cared. There wasn't really anything else to go for. At one point, I was like, Ken at one point trades with Bex, and he could have had like 4 of a kind or like 4 purples, but she just like gave him a random one. So I think Ken was
Yeah.
just like aggressively not trying to win.
I think there was one that was like a genuine mistake also, where like they meant to trade a red and it just got muddy.
Yeah, I think that's Bex and Indy tried to trade,
Yeah.
and so she would have potentially ended like a round sooner, which is
Also,
crazy.
also the whites are compromised, is what Penner said at the
Oh,
Cook Islands merge.
oh
By the way,
no. Oh,
He
great.
compromised him.
yeah,
So let me do my this is like a episode tradition at this point where I just shout out Indy for like just playing really well again and not
Yeah.
making any enemies and still winning the main match. Like it's just a really good performance from her. I think Ben is very clearly the most intimidating competitor left in terms of he's going to domineer these games and he's probably pretty strong in the death matches. I think Indy's played the cleanest game so far, and like if we had a stock watch or any sort of power rankings, I think for me at this point she'd be number 1. What do you think, Zach?
I agree. I think that we've seen she was in the majority episode 1. Episode 2, and she got a garnet out of it because Charlotte felt bad. Episode 2, she's in the winning group. Episode 3, she's the person who people are suspicious is going to flip, and she is wanting to play the game, but ultimately is able to protect herself, not be in the line of fire, and stay in Benjamin's good graces, even after she gets ratted out by Charlotte. Here, episode 4, she takes control. She gets to the early lead. As soon as the Bedalia Monfy conflict blows up, she's the one that everyone is okay. All right, let's give it to India. We don't mind her being the winner here. So I think that she has all the connection she needs. I think she has the game sense. We saw in her intro package, she's a poker player. So I think she's going to be really good at the death matches too. I think that she is going to be someone that we're going to be talking about in these like final few episodes.
Yeah, I think that she is probably my favorite out of that big alliance.
Do you see any similarities, Claire, between India and Chada from your season?
Fascinating.
Just coming in as the youngest person in the
Yeah.
game. Obviously super smart, super intelligent. You continue. You obviously know her better.
No, yeah, I think that is interesting. Like both young, they will be underestimated. They both want to play the game, and sometimes get like a little bit of resistance. They super smart, good socially, in with a big group, can probably make a deep run of it. Will be good at all these memory challenges if you luck into a memory challenge in the death match. I think her issue is when you are that young, she's never going to be the person that strong arms. And I think she will be someone that an alliance will push forward to win because so many of them like her. But I think in the genius game, when you have to, and she's shown she's willing to like deceive a little, play a little, like she wanted to play it in the 3rd round. I think that's promising for her. I think it will be hard with these domineering personalities, though. I think if I had to pick like my stock watch rating, I think Ken had a good episode for starting with the black box, trading it off, and he left that game like no bad blood on his hand. Bex and Ken have like a super tight alliance. I felt like he was going to be in huge trouble coming off episode 3, where he was really like the odd man out, but it doesn't really seem like there was like a ton of targeting on him. No. He seemed like he's kind of like blended back in. I think that he will probably go far. And I think like could be interesting.
I gotta say with Ken, I mean, you're a funny guy. This is supposed to be like Korean Genius is like a funny show. Yes. I'm still waiting.
Well,
for something funny to happen.
He's got a couple of zingers.
What are his zingers? Like, what was? What did
say them?
Yeah. Well, when you ask me for specifics, I do remember a moment in the 3rd episode where he's talking to the dealer and makes a little joke, and then the joke is actually the dealer stone facing him because it wasn't funny. So my thoughts on Ken, just big picture. He seems like a pretty strong competitor in these deathmatch type games, the one-on-one strategy, as we saw today. Sometimes not. Sometimes the death matches aren't necessarily strategic in nature. But, and someone helped me with the math, are we tracking towards a 3 or 4 person final? Maybe they start eliminating people quicker. It's not that clear. But if he's able to get to that, let's say, final 4, when maybe things start skewing more deathmatch, that's where I think he really has a path to actually winning this whole thing. His problem is he's just not very creative in the main matches. He's not super ambitious trying to win and come up with good solutions. But if he gets to the deathmatch phase, I feel good about him.
I don't have doubts about his ability, especially after this episode. I did have some after last episode when he kind of just sat there and died. But the reality TV factor from him, I'm still waiting for. I'm still waiting to see why he got cast, basically.
Yeah, especially like I'm like a no roles barred like fan, so I knew Ken was the one person I knew. I feel like I know Charlotte. If Charlotte has done like Twitch stream or anything, let me know, please. But yeah, I had very high expectations, and I kind of wanted him to be our like plucky underdog, which he is a little bit. But I think why I love the Genius game so much is like, I mean, maybe there's just how that cast worked. Like there would be times where the underdogs would win. And it was actually being in a big alliance was not the ideal strategy. A 2-person alliance is the best strategy here, which is like fun for the diversity of it. And I think that's like the cast is very resistant to that. And so I'm hoping moving forward as we see like this big alliance will have to break up. People will have to start playing more individually. And hopefully these games will stop getting broken.
Yes, agreed.
So, we've been slightly in moments negative during this podcast, but let's get positive. I'm going to describe this death match.
Oh, wait, before we get into the death match, I do have one more. I've got one more question about the main match before we get into the death match, if that's all right. It's a quick one. Were you guys expecting there to be a trick to the blocks? Or a trick to the briefcase or something? I feel like that's such a classic Genius trope is we've given you these props and it's up to you to figure out. And I think that there really could have been something there for a Genius moment. Like imagine a Monfy just going in being like, I know how to tell which block is which. And there being something to that. Were you expecting that? Are you disappointed they didn't have that? And like, what could that have been?
It reminds me a little bit of the ID game in season 4, episode 1, where the players are like scurrying around trying to find a secret blacklight to check their IDs. Like maybe there's something hidden in the set that allows them to view their blocks. The problem is you find it, the game's over. It's broken. Maybe you could like pay garnets to check a block would be something, but it's not really a trick.
I think maybe like a specific color could have been like maybe the green blocks have something that makes them distinct and you can know which one are the greens, which makes the greens actually really beneficial or something like that.
I would have liked that. Really, I think the way I would make this more interesting, like make them trade. Also, perhaps make the trades in secret. So you go into a room and then you come out of the room. Everyone can see you go in the room, but then it's like, did they actually swap or did they not swap? And that is the like you have an extra level of deception that you can play if you have the black box, or if it's known who has it, then I think that way you can like hide who actually has it.
Definitely. All right, let's continue to this.
Okay, sorry. Let's talk about the best death match.
Oh yeah,
in the Genius game.
So it was off to a bad start when they said the name Tactical Rock Paper Scissors. I was like, uh-oh. So let's talk about the rules. All players, which not just the people in the deathmatch. So by the way, Vidalia loses, picks a Monfy. That was going to happen. So all players, including those not playing, receive 3 cards, or actually the people in the deathmatch don't. And they get 30 minutes to influence those people with the cards to divvy up those cards accordingly. So basically, you're going to play 10 rounds of rock, paper, scissors, but the only, the way you decide whether you go on rock, paper, scissors is based on the cards you're given by the spectators. So you're incentivized to get the spectators to, give you cards that'll beat the other person's cards.
Yeah.
There's a lot of games somewhat similar to this in the South Korean version of the Genius. Betting rock, paper, scissors, winning streak game. I think this is clearly the worst version of it because essentially by design, as long as the spectators agree on this, they just choose the winner. because
Mhm.
if you're Amalfi and are given all rock and you're Bedalia and given all paper, there is no wiggle room.
There's
In
literally
other
nothing you
games,
can do.
you could be like, oh, they want me to lose, so I can like reverse psychology, try to go for scissors when they want me to go for paper, and at least you stand a fighting chance. But in this game, essentially what it boiled down to was a round table where Bedalia and Amalfi pitched their case, and then they left the room, and the rest of the players got to decide who stayed and go.
Yeah.
went.
Claire, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this death match?
You know, how many prongs are there on a scissor? 2. You know,
Oh,
I
it
think
gets a
like
2.
it gets a 2. It's
Okay.
not gonna get a 1 from me.
Wow.
Mainly because I liked India and Bex saying, let's just give him cards and let's just let him play. And
Yeah.
here we come, Tsar, dictator, Charlotte. I don't want to do that.
Yep.
And I kind of enjoyed seeing that from Charlotte. And
She's
I liked
Nicole
the
Franzel. I'm
idea.
telling you, she's cutthroat.
Well, this is Charlotte,
Uh,
not Bex, not Bex.
No,
Wait,
but
do you
I'm
think
saying
Charlotte
I think
is?
Charlotte
I think
is. I think
Charlotte's
they're
Nicole.
yeah, they're
Oh.
both rats,
Okay.
but Charlotte is like Nicole Franzel to a T.
You know, actually, that is very interesting. Like her crying last episode.
Yeah.
Like very emotional gameplay, which is interesting.
Oh yeah.
But like, yeah, this just isn't fun. And once you get like the third card in and it's just coming up rock for Monfy, like what, like let's just wrap this up. Like it just was sad. It was sad for everyone playing the game, it was sad for them watching the game, and it was sad for us viewers. Like this isn't, it's not fun. I don't know.
It's
I
poor
think that
like
this
game.
was
I was gonna say it's just poor game philosophy from the creators of the game, where like having extremely dominant social elements in the deathmatch is almost always going to encourage the less dynamic game player to escape that deathmatch, right? And by design, whoever is in the majority is going to survive. So like I don't know what they were trying to like. Usually you could see the vision and then the game was broken somehow, and it's like that's a shame or that was fun. I don't see the vision for this one. Like what were they going for?
Yeah, I cannot hate I cannot hate this game more, honestly. I think that this was like atrocious in terms of game design for the Genius because it's what you said, there was no counterplay for Amalfi, who has been like literally maybe the star of the season. Like he has been one of the
Yeah.
biggest players. He's been the underdog. He's been the person who is trying to like do these crazy strategies even when the rest of the cast is trying to lock the game down and just like end it before it starts. So I've been such an Amalfi fan. It was such a horrible way to see him go out with literally nothing he can do. I think that the producers should have seen this coming. I put this entirely on their hands. There should have been other ways for them to structure this. I think one way they could have done it is isolating the players, not letting them get in a round table and just decide. I think that if we actually got each person, let's say that like you had them locked in a room and they each got to go like one at a time to talk to Amalfi and Bedalia. I think that would have been really interesting because then I think there would have been some players like, let's say, a Ken who maybe does really feel bad for Amalfi in there, who is like, you know what, in this moment, let me just give it to you. But once you get that big room together and they can create this consensus, this is always how this game was going to go. And I don't understand how the producers didn't see that coming.
Well, especially when you're coming off of a challenge that is like, what was he supposed to do? Like, what was Amalfi supposed to do? Like, he got given the black box and he had to give it to someone else. Like,
Right.
and that is designed to betray trust and hurt people. Like, I think maybe there's something interesting to like, if you are the second to last person to have the black box, you get the safety. And then everyone wants it and everyone is trying to give it away and then stop it. I guess like you lock down cases then. But like it just is sad. And yeah, like if everyone had chosen independently, if there was some strategy in there, it would have been better. Also, can I just say Bex is the worst ally to have.
Yes. Yeah.
Really didn't like this from Bex. I think Bex is kind of like my rat. Like I, you know, her and Charlotte. There's one thing about them; they're gonna be messy.
Yeah. They scurry.
And like just absolutely kind of screwing him over of like, this is my final two. But actually I do want to like she was with Charlotte, like, like this is the game. We're gonna do this. Rough. I'm sad that like Amalfi, I feel like put so much out for Bex and like has really gone to bat for her. And then when he needed it, she was nowhere to be found.
Well, allow me to defend Bex for just a moment because, in fairness, Bex did already protect Amalfi from a death match in episode 2 in the zombie game. She was kind of the main voice against sending Amalfi in because he was a real option. And in general, like, as much as this game is designed to give Amalfi no chance, the reason why Amalfi had no chance was because Amalfi was on this like crusade for 4 episodes straight to try to betray everybody. And we have to balance these two things because Zach brought up this point a few podcasts ago of like the show's about lying. If you're the initial zombie, you have to lie. If you have the black cube, you have to. We all agree. But that defense doesn't work when they're trying to pick someone for the death match. You can't say, "Oh, sorry, I was lying. It's a game." It's like when you're the one always lying to everybody. They're like, I think the key is always like consequences or actions have consequences.
Yeah,
right.
And that is
he has all the actions.
Yeah. And that is like central to what they sell like the genius is, right? It's like mental, emotional, and like strategic, right? It's kind of their 3. And they're like alliances, memory, and like ability to lie. And so I do think like there should be some social aspect to death matches. Like players who do have friends should get rewarded. I would argue, I think they get rewarded in main matches, but I'm like not. I agree. Like he has betrayed people, and it came like to roost. It's just I think like what I was saying at the start. Like it's not fun. It's not fun
I think you were right at the start, Claire, when you said that. Like I think there's a fundamental, maybe like a mistake or two that was made with casting in this season. Because the truth is, there should be more Amalfis on the season. There should be more people who are willing to play hard, who are trying to make these big moves, like actual efficacy be damned, like I think that is something that's missing. So I think that's one, because when you look at who's left in this game, I think like Benjamin, Charlotte, Bex, and
India.
I'm forgetting one person.
India.
I think those 4 are like really playing hard, playing well. Vidalia's good. Allison and Ken, I think, haven't really given me what I've needed yet. And then Amalfi was like a star, but there's none of those players that I mentioned that I'm like, oh my God, this is like someone who was born to play this game. Honestly, Amalfi was the person who was the most like reminiscent of how the Korean game was played, where people were throwing these crazy strategies out. People were trying to just go like balls to the wall. I think there should have been a lot more of that. And then I also just think fundamentally, to encourage this kind of gameplay, they just shouldn't have death matches like this, because this kind of death match is going to result in the better player going home a lot of the time.
Yeah. I mean, I think Benjamin is the player that you're looking for. Of like,
no, he is.
Crazy strategies. Like episode 3 was an insane strategy. It 100% could have backfired because of how he played it. It didn't. And that is like, I think if Benjamin wins, I think everyone will point to episode 3 of like, and this is when he like really stepped out and started shining and like had this crazy strategy.
It was Paul getting all the people to throw the foot race, and give it to Christmas. I mean, and look, I think Benjamin almost for me is struggling from success. Like he's been doing too good in these games that I'm rooting against him. But yeah, certainly he's been playing the hardest of anyone.
I'm feeling Scott's absence a little bit. Just someone who could like meaningfully mount a resistance, like to group up these other people, because now it feels like a lot of these games are revolving around like Ben's side or people who are annoyed about Ben's side, but they're still in Ben's side. So like, again, it all comes down to the game design. Almost what I hope for the next main match or future main matches, maybe just divide these teams inorganically. So we can just like have 2 sides that have to like compete against each other and lie to each other, instead of doing, okay, let's target 1 person, isolate 2 people, isolate 3 people even. I think that's just the trap we fall into. It gets a little bit dull.
We also need a game where you're incentivized to play in smaller numbers, like Claire said. I think that a game that would be like the majority gets together, but they don't realize that, oh crap, the group of 2 actually has a huge advantage here because they don't need to take care of everyone. Now we all have to like fight like piranhas to get the last scraps.
I figured it out. I solved it. Production, you listening? They've done this twist on the challenge many times. If you are not safe, you don't have a token of life, you don't win the main match, it's a random draw amongst the rest of the players who goes to the death
Oh,
match.
hate. Absolutely hate.
I love it. It's better. Why? It's
Disgusting.
perfect. There's no
All
criticism.
right.
What's the problem with it?
But everything that would, I would, if they did that, you would be screaming about it right now.
You have to win.
should
You have
never-
to win.
You should never say they should take this from the challenge for the genius.
Well,
Like, those
should
words-
they
give them way
do?
more alcohol?
Should they do like there definitely should be more alcohol. Should they do like whatever the red star, like you have to win a death match before going to finals or something?
Yeah, the Black Garnets actually from season 3 could have been a fun addition to incentivize people to go into the death match. Claire, before we wrap up here, we got 2 more things that we want to do. Number 1 is we've got an award that we give out each season, or not each season, each episode. It's called the Sangi, and it's not dedicated to whoever played the best in each episode, because that would always be the winner. The Sangi is for which player played the hardest in any given episode. Who was the player that gave us the most genius, the most like big moves? Who do we think it is this time?
It's kind of hard.
That is kind of hard because I'm like, my heart is like a Momfy, but I'm like, I don't actually like how he played it at all.
No.
I guess, you know
Can
what?
I throw?
I have it. It's
Who do you
Bex.
think?
It's Bex.
I was gonna say Bex too. I was gonna say Bex.
Bex
Okay.
is using the information that she has. She's gathering additional information. She avoided getting the black box when it was like amongst the white blocks. And you know what? She played hard. She got in a fight. She got a little drama. Then she smoothed it over. Yeah, let's give it to her.
I thought Bex too. I mean, I was really like, especially in that Bex versus Benjamin fight, like to get fights in the genius, I really appreciate. And yeah, like she should be like going over screwing up her side up. Like I want to reward that. I want to reward her being a rat here.
The only other person I think is even in the mix for me is Charlotte. Because Charlotte, for some reason, is in this minority group of 3, but like isn't, I guess. I don't know. That was kind of odd to me. It just kind of, eventually she became part of the majority, I guess off screen. And then in the death match, she's apparently the one who kind of killed Amonfi's chances. So like,
yeah,
again, she doesn't do it in the Dan Giesling manner of really owning these moves and going into the, confessional laughing about it. But I do think she is like, in terms of the playing hard meter, she's pretty high up there. But I'm happy to give it to Bex here.
Yeah, we got a couple rat queens this season. I love it. I hope that's not like super insulting in the UK.
It's
by
complimentary.
The way. It's complimentary, yeah. Like we're calling you a rat in a good way, just so you know.
Queen, rat queen,
rat,
we are fans.
rat queen, yeah. Claire, the other thing that we have to do is every episode, before we end it, me and Cory play a death match against each other, inspired by the death match that we just watched.
It's huge.
So,
it's huge for me.
So
Claire
I
just
thought
hands out the cards.
That's what I was gonna say. I thought that the only fair way of doing this death match in honor of this episode, Claire, you now have 3 cards in front of you: a rock, a paper, and a scissors. You must choose to give 1 to me and 1 to Cory.
Okay.
And then you'll reveal who you gave what. Cory, would you like to give a pitch to Claire before she makes her choice?
I'm an offensive player in general. When it comes to games, I try to be very aggressive. I'm going to ask very directly, Claire, for a rock.
Okay.
Can ask for rock. Okay. Claire, I saw you last week. We had such a fun time together. I genuinely feel so close to you, and I'm hoping that the bond we've formed over the past 2 years at this point, it's been, oh my God, it's already been 2 years. How time flies. Whoa. You're one of my closest friends, Claire, and I'm just so happy that we made it to the end together. I would be honored to get paper here. And if I were not to receive paper at this point, I would consider it a betrayal
of the highest order.
magnitude.
Okay. I just have to ask you, Cory, like as Bedalia said, does this feel fair to you?
Well, look, at the end of the day, I'm going to get my card and I'm just going to play the best with the hand I'm dealt. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's Claire, you can only play the hand you're dealt.
Claire, we did it. We made it here.
Okay, how do I like bequeath?
Just tell us. I feel like
tell us, yeah.
I'm just going to, the only thing I can do is respect both your wishes. So unfortunately, Cory, you will be getting rock.
I'm 0 for 3.
In fact, you will be getting paper. Well, maybe you shouldn't be so braggadocious about beating your brother on national television, Cory.
Yeah. How about that,
I mean,
Cory?
look, yeah, just like a
You should have made a better
past
pitch.
has caught up to me.
Yeah.
Well, that was honestly more fun than the death match I watched, to be quite frank.
Because there was at least a question between us versus Amanfi and Bedalia.
Zach, before we wrap up, is there any information the viewers need about what we got upcoming?
Yeah, we got exit interviews coming out hopefully tomorrow. I haven't heard anything else. And look, I mean, please like, subscribe, comment, follow, ask us any questions. I'll post this in the Rob as a Podcast Patreon group if you want to hear more directly from us. And yeah, and subscribe to our feed. We Know the Genius. Claire, where can the listeners find you? Where can they see you and Derek promoting the biggest brands in the world?
Thank you. Yeah, that's why you would follow me. Thanks. At Claire.
You're in the ads. Yeah, you're in the ads.
Yeah. First name, last name. Last name spelled confusingly, so look it up. Yeah, Instagram, TikTok, I suppose, Twitter occasionally, watching Survivor, watching Genius, watching Survivor Australia. Wow, what a show. Really behind watching 2019 Survivor Australia right now. Man, that's good TV. And speaking of good TV, same with the Genius Game. It's still fun. Even in these small doses. Like, how can you not love it? That's it.
Thanks, Claire. First of all, thank you for being here. Of course, anyone who's looking for these episodes, the RHAP patron group is a good resource. Also, I'll ask
we don't need to plug that. By the way, we don't need to plug that at the end of the episode, Cory. Like,
they've already watched this episode.
They've watched the episode. They found it.
But the reason I say this is because the second half of that sentence, before I was rudely interrupted, I'm seeing some of these episodes pop up in other places as well. I've seen some of these episodes on YouTube, and if you go on some Reddit, so there's a lot of ways to view them, make your life a little bit easier. You can find them. But until next time, again, thank you, Claire, for being here. Thank you, Zach, for hanging with me like we do every week. And I suppose we will see you at the exit interviews, right?
Yeah, see you then.
So
all right,
fun.
bye-bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.